Let's label all of our seventh chords in major and minor keys with Roman numerals, and we'll do some exercises using Roman numerals and figured bass for seventh chords. To start out with, I wrote a C major scale and then built a seventh chord on top of each scale degree just by stacking up thirds. And so this is the chord built on scale degree 1, on scale degree 2, and so forth. And we're going to see that scale degree numbers become the same number as Roman numerals. That's what Roman numerals are. So let's label the chords. This is 1, 7. This is 2, 7. This is 3, 7. And I'll just write them all out. There they all are. Let's go through the qualities. C, E, G, B is a major seventh chord, sometimes called major major seventh, and its notation is capital numeral with a 7. The 2 chord is a minor seventh chord, that is a minor triad with a minor seventh. It's notated this way. 3 chord is the same quality as the 2 chord. The 4-7 chord is the same quality as the 1 chord, a major major seventh chord, or as your textbook calls it, a major seventh chord. The 5-7 is a dominant seventh chord. G, B, D is a major triad, but G to F is a minor seventh, an interval of a minor seventh. The dominant seventh chord and the major seventh chord share the same notation, but that doesn't cause a problem because we can always figure out the quality of the chord by looking at the notes. The 6-7 chord is a minor seventh type chord. 7 is a half diminished seventh chord. We can confirm that by looking at the triad B, D, F. It's a diminished triad. B to A is a minor seventh, thus half diminished, and here's a repeat of the 1-7 chord. Okay, let's go on. Just as we did with triads, we'll go on to the chords created on the C minor scale. 1, 7. So let's talk through these qualities. The 1 chord is a minor triad with a minor seventh, so that's a minor seventh type chord. The 2 chord, diminished triad with a minor seventh added on top of it, thus 2 half diminished seventh. 3 is a major triad with a major seventh on it. 4 is minor triad with a minor seventh. 5 is our dominant seventh chord again. 6, major major seventh, or major seventh, either term. 7, fully diminished seventh in minor, and the 1-7 chord is minor type seventh chord again. Once again, I've chosen the most common chords for minor key, raising the 7th degree to create a leading tone for the 5 and the 7 chord, making it more like what we had in major, and we already talked about how supplying the leading tone makes the cadential movement or the resolution of 5 to 1 stronger. We do not raise the leading tone in the 3-7 chord, and we don't raise it in the 1-7 chord, and that's something you just have to remember. I'd like you to be able to recreate this by writing out the notes and then looking at the qualities, and all you have to remember is to raise the leading tone for 5 and 7 and don't do it anywhere else. C minor set of 7th chords built on the harmonic minor scale mostly. There's one chord that I want to mention over here, an extra chord that arises when we don't raise the leading tone in 7. And this is just an example of how there are multiple possibilities. If we write this chord on B flat, D, F, and A flat, so I haven't raised the leading tone here. I'm going to actually put the flat back on there to cancel that natural. This ends up being 7, 7 like that, and that's a dominant type 7th chord, B flat, D, F, A flat. If you ever see this Roman numeral, 7, capital with the 7, that's a dominant 7th type chord, and you know that it's been built on the 7th scale degree not raised, which does happen in music. So just reviewing, any of these chords that have a scale degree 6 or a scale degree 7 in them can have alternate forms. Let's go on and do some exercises with Roman numerals. It's just the same as what we did with triads, but we have one extra note to work with. So, if we are asked, for example, in the key of D, to write out a 5-4-2 chord, we now have enough knowledge to do that. We know we're going to write the key signature for D major. We're going to write a 7th chord built on scale degree 5, and then we're going to put it in 4-2 position, meaning the 3rd inversion of a 7th chord, which in turn means that the 7th of the chord is in the bass. So let's do all of that. That's about 4 steps here. So D major. There's the key signature. We look for scale degree 5, which is A, and we'll do a little scratch work here and actually build the chord there. Remember, in a major key, we don't have to do any accidentals on any of these notes, because in a major key, 7th chords are just built on the notes as they come in the scale. All right, so now we're ready to go on and put this in 4-2 position. 4-2 means the 7th is in the bass. We're going to put this note in the bass and then just put all the other chord tones above it. So there's the G, it comes down here, and then here are the rest of the chord tones. That may be an odd looking shape to you, but you get used to that as just that's how 4-2 chords look. So we're done with that one. Let's do another one. Key signature first, that's F major. We're looking for a scale degree 2, and we're going to build a 7th chord on that scale degree. Scale degree 2 is G, so we just go G, B flat, D, F. Those are our notes. 6-5 means 1st inversion, 7th chord, meaning the 3rd of the chord is going to be in the bass. So we'll just write that as our lowest note and stack everything else up above it. The G, which is the root of the chord, is going to appear up here. So that is a 2-6-5 chord. I'll circle that. That's the answer. This was just scratch work. Let's do some chords in minor. We'll start with something the key of D minor. That's kind of a hairy looking expression there. And if we can do this, we've got our Roman numerals figured bass under control pretty well, I think. So step by step, we're going to use the D minor key signature. We're going to build a 7th chord on scale degree 2. It's going to turn out to be half diminished when we look at that chord, and this 4-2 tells us it's going to be in the 3rd inversion, that is with the 7th of the chord in the bass. Let's take those things in order. Here's the D minor key signature. We look for scale degree 2 to start building our chord. Here's our scratch work. We can just stack up the thirds like that. We don't need any accidentals on a 2 chord. Now we just have to put this in 4-2 position. The 7th of the chord. It's right there, it's a D. So we'll put that on the bottom and put the rest of the notes of the chord above it, and we are done. So there's the 2 half diminished 4-2 chord. So I'm going to ask you for F minor. Okay, so let's just fly through this. F minor has this key signature. We're building it on scale degree 7, and we know with our standard chords in minor, we're going to raise that scale degree 7 to create a leading tone. So scratch work, that's a fully diminished 7th chord. You can confirm that. Put it in 6-5 position. That means this G has to be in the bass. So we put it there, and we just stack up the rest of the notes above it, including the E natural, that is the root of the chord. So there's our 7, fully diminished, 6-5. Key of G minor, new key signature, 2 flats. Build a 7th chord on scale degree 5. That's D. Just make our stack of thirds. Do we need to put an accidental here? Yes, to create a dominant type 7th chord in a minor key. So here's F, scale degree 7, and we'll raise it. Oh, I just noticed this is my scratch work. I wrote it out in big notes, but I'm going to just leave it there, and we'll write the proper chord next to it in the 4-3 inversion. So what tone is in the bass when we have 4-3? The 5th of the chord. So there is our A, C. We just put all the rest of the notes in the chord above that A, and we're done. We can also take a moment here to remind ourselves why this is called a 4-3 chord. Let's count the intervals above the bass note of the chord. The C is a 3rd above the chord. The D is a 4th above the chord. 4 and 3. The last thing I want to review with you at this moment is just what the figured bass symbols are for triads and 7th chords. Remember, if we see a Roman numeral with nothing on it, that's a triad in root position. If it has a 6, that's a triad in first inversion. If it has 6-4, triad in second inversion. Those are all the triad figured basses. For 7th chords, this you really need to memorize. If there's a 7 with a Roman numeral, that's a root position 7th chord. 6-5, first inversion. 4-3, which is second inversion, and 4-2, which is third inversion. This is a root position, 3rd in the bass, 5th in the bass, 7th in the bass. To remember the 7th chord figures, it's kind of handy to just think 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2. Goes right down the counting numbers, but there is an extra 4 there. We started doing this sheet in an earlier video. We can do the second half of the sheet, and this is going to use all the knowledge we just learned, but actually apply it in reverse, because we're starting with now the notes on the staff, and we have to tell what the Roman numeral and figured bass is for the given chord. So let's do an exercise in thinking backwards. At the beginning of the line, we have this symbol A minor. So the first chord has D, B, E, and G sharp in it. D, B, E, G. What's the root of that? Okay, so we can quickly click through our possibilities and realize that to stack this in thirds, we're going to want to go E, G sharp, B, and D. That stacks it up in thirds, right? So now we can see what scale degree the root is and use that number for our Roman numeral. So what scale degree is the note E in the key of A minor? It's scale degree 5, so this is going to be some kind of a 5 chord. Why did I write the capital 5 here, not a small 5? Well, it's because we know that in a minor key, the leading tone is raised, and that results in a dominant type 7th chord. And actually here we can see the leading tone is raised by that G sharp. So we use a capital Roman numeral 5. Now we just have to put the figured bass on it. So which tone of the chord is in the bass? D happens to be the 7th of the chord. That makes it 4-2. Okay, let's do another one. The next chord is C, C, E, and A. We only have to say C one time. It's doubled or duplicated. So C, E, and A are the notes. Is that a 7th chord or a triad? Well, if it's only got C, E, and A, it's a triad, and we can stack them up in thirds this way: A, C, and E, and that's our triad. What is the root and what scale degree is it? A is the root. and it's scale degree 1. So this is going to be a 1 triad. Is it inverted? Yes. C is in the bass. That happens to be the third of the chord. So this is a 1/6 chord. And you can just use that kind of thinking to go on and complete this line. Stay in the key of A minor. Every chord here is going to have a root that is some scale degree of A minor, and that will tell you the Roman numeral. Okay, let's go on to some real music by J.S. Bach. Now we're in A major, but the thinking is exactly the same. The first chord, at this point we can start to dispense with the scratch work. We see the notes are A, C, E, and then the A is doubled up there again. So this is an A, C, E triad. That's an A major triad. The root of it is A, that's scale degree 1. It's there in the bass, so this is a root position 1 chord, or major triad. So all we put in the blank is 1. No figure is needed with it because it's a root position triad. This is the case where we draw a little dash and if we're answering questions. But in actual practice, we just put the Roman numeral there, and the fact that there's no figure with it means it's root position. Let's look at the next one. The notes are F, C, F, and A. So there's F, C, and A. We don't have to say that F again. What's the root of that chord? We can do a little scratch work here. F, A, C. So the root is F. This is a 6 triad because F sharp is the 6th degree of the A major scale. And therefore we put a 6 in the blank. We know that the 6th triad is minor in any major key, so we're comfortable just putting that as a small Roman numeral. Do we need a figure with this? No, because once again it's in root position. It's a triad with the root in the bass, so we're done. Let's try to find something that's going to be a little bit more interesting here. How about number 7? We've got C, A, E, A. C, A, E. What's the root of that chord? Mentally, can we at this point say, well, that's an ACE chord. Therefore, the root is A, which is scale degree 1, and this is a 1 chord. Now, do we need a figure? Is this chord inverted? Yes, because the root is not in the bass. C is the third of the chord, meaning the chord's in first inversion, so we put a 6 with it. That's a 1/6 chord. So we know enough now to fill in all these blanks and finish our sheet. It's just going to take a little practice to speed up and be confident doing the steps, but we will work on that in class.